Bashir. I work with Catholic Charities, Refugees and Immigration Services, the Lewiston office. We are only one of the resettlement in Maine. We resettle refugees from everywhere in the world. So, I am a mother of 6 kids. 3 of them are here. My older son goes to the community college. My daughter goes to Bates College. And my younger son is a freshman at the high school. So what we do at the Catholic Charities is that the United States of America allow every year more than 70,000 refugees all over the world to come to America. But instead of Maine, we only take 250 to 175 refugees to Maine. Why are we taking a small number of refugees to Maine? Because of the capacity of the state. So what we look before we resettle the refugees is that we look at the capacity of the place where the refugees can be resettled. Do they have jobs? Do they have any services? Do they have the mosque? Do they have a synagogue? Do they have a community support? Because a refugee can revive in the new world when they have support from their own people and from the resources in the area. So before we resettle any refugees, they go through more than 4 or 5 interviews outside the country. 3 of those interviews are security, to make sure that no one comes to this country which has a bad history or has any ties with terrorist acts. The problem with the Somalis or the Iraqis, we have the same names with the people who are in the blacklist. So it is not easy for a refugee from Somalia or Iraq to be resettled in America unless they go through the thorough interviews with the immigration department overseas. Before the refugees arrive, we receive what we call a biodata. It is an intensive paper showing the content of the family, how many of them, their needs, their strength, if they have any multiple health reasons. So when you look at the biodata, automatically you'll have a picture of the family coming. A mother, a father, 3 kids, 1 is disabled. A mother has, they'll give you not a detailed information about the family, but you'll have a clear picture of the family you are going to pick from the airport. When we receive that biodata, what we do as Refugees and Immigration Services, we are a federal funded project, whereby the government, not the main state, is the federal government which is giving money to Catholic Charities and resettle these refugees. So every refugee receives $925. It doesn't matter, it's a child who is 1 month old or 2 days. Everyone in the family member is receiving $925. Do we give it to the refugee in their hand? No. What we do with that money is that we rent them an apartment. We furnish the apartment. Do we furnish with that money? No. We have donors in the communities, like churches, LLB, individuals, sometimes schools adopt a family in the refugee community, and they say, we are going to take care of this family, and we do this and this and this. Do we burden the school to ask for donation? Sometimes, yes. We have cheerleaders in one school in Augusta, which adopted 2 families last year, and they provided many things. And I'm very proud of those cheerleaders. And those are the things which sometimes in the community we need to support each other. So the refugees, when they arrive, we rent an apartment. We try to find an apartment in a nice, safe neighborhood. But most of the time, because the amount of money we are receiving is not enough to sustain their life, automatically we try to find the cheap and best. Is it hard to be a refugee? Yes. We have a saying in our office, it is a big sign, it says, it takes courage to be a refugee. Because you have been uprooted to your own norms and come and start all over again. That's a brief of the things we do as a Catholic charity. It's a lot, but when you give the, I can answer anything you want me to answer. You had a question?
Yeah. How has your move to Lewiston changed you? Warning, I asked a lot of hard questions.
No problem. I came to Lewiston in 2002, March, and it was a winter day. The snow was outside there, and I didn't know that 2 days before that in May there was a big storm which everywhere was closed, the school was closed. And when the kids, when I came, they told me that we didn't go to school, those are my cousin's children. And I asked them why, and they said, because of the storm. And I didn't know what the storm was. I said, the storm forward, and they said, did you see all outside there, it is snow? We couldn't go out for school because the buses cannot ride during that time. And so coming to Lewiston, it changed me a lot. I had a voice, which I didn't have back home as a woman. Though my parents took me to school, I was educated in Somalia. I came with a degree in accounts and materials management. But when I came to America, no one recognized my credentials, so I started all over again. I went to GED, prepared my GED within 2 days, and after that, I started community college. I went for community college and I transferred to University of Maine, and I took a degree in leadership and organization studies. And now I'm studying for my master's in public health. So coming to Lewiston, it was not an easy thing. Being a refugee, as I mentioned, I didn't have anything. I had only 150 in my pocket. But the only thing I had. So I went to general assistant, the social service department. They rented me an apartment, and they took me to the Department of Human Services, whereby everyone who has a social security number can get benefits. But it was not an easy thing that we are being handled like this. I was asked to volunteer at the library for 30 hours so that I can contribute back to the community. So I was volunteering at the library, helping the kids with their homework and helping the librarian with the Somali kids because we were the new, at that time we had the influx of Somalis in Lewiston.
How long did you live in Lewiston?
For 12 years now.
Kumar, I know a number of the students are very interested in the experience in the refugee camp, if you came from a camp. And we talked a little bit about Dadaab, is that how you pronounce it?
Dadaab.
Dadaab in Kenya.
Yeah, Dadaab refugee camp. We have, in Kenya, we have one, I think, one of the biggest refugee camps in Africa. And now the safety there is very dangerous because of Al-Shabaab. And life is very hard at the refugee camp. How can a person survive at the refugee camp? It's very hard because there, the United Nations give you a ratio. They look at the content of your family. If it's a family of 5, they look at the ratio of dividing the food by doing that math. Like 5 kilograms of rice, 5 kilograms of beans, 2 bottles of oil, 5 kilograms of sugar. And you need to survive by that. But for anyone who has some transferable skills, for example, you know how to speak the language, you speak English, I speak Swahili, you speak Arabic. Those things will help you to read or write for other refugees who are going to pay you. So education is very, very important. We need to have some education to help to survive in this world. I think you guys maybe are taking education for granted, but I think education is an important thing, which is like a skill you'll have to survive when anything happens to you. So at the refugee camp, sometimes the high rate of rape is very high for young women and young boys. And sometimes young boys will be taken as war soldiers to go and fight. And how you become a soldier, they'll ask maybe to kill your own family member so that you can have the blood in your body and not care about others. For a young girl, she can be prostituted from one man to another, so life at the refugee camp is hard, and you need to have a lot of strength and courage and support from other community. For the women, what will they do? Because if you don't have water, you need to go and fetch water very far. They form a group of 10 to 11 people to go and fetch water. One within the group will have a machete or a gun so that each can protect others. Because it's not safe for you to go outside there to cut wood so that you can have, wood and water. So that is how they survive at the refugee camp. Any other question?
What is your favorite part of moving to Lewiston or even the U.S. then?
Education. Though, when I look at the socioeconomic status where the refugees are being resettled, we are resettled in a neighborhood whereby it is cheap, but the area in that place is that maybe the school is not capable of educating the kids. I used to teach my kids to help them with their homework. And comparing Africa to here, I think education here is a little bit simple. You guys are having all these things. You do not read a book. For us back in Africa, whenever you're doing math, you need to know your tables in your hands when you're in fourth grade. You need to know all the tables, 12. Okay. But yesterday, for example, 2 days ago, I was helping a refugee family at night, and they are doing math. She was in 8th grade. And when I asked her 7 times 8, she didn't know. And I looked at her and said, oh my God, can I come to school and help this teacher? Why are they giving you this math when you don't know the multiplication table? So for example, in Africa, you need to learn everything in your head. For example, logarithm table. We used to know our logarithm table in our head, the cosines and all this. But here, you have the computers. What I hate about the education in Africa is spark notes. You're asking a student to read a book, and they're going to the computer and have this spark note. Simple, you know all the story about the book without even knowing the theme or the author very well, by just sparking the note. That is not reading. That reading is someone taking a book and read it through, rather than just taking a question and copying the computer and ask Google. And sometimes I hate Google because it gives you answers for everything. Sometimes it has some controversial answers, but every one of you guys, I think, are using Google a lot. I think it is better for you to read the book before you go to the book. Yes.
Well, it's sort of about like when you lived in Somalia.
Mm-hmm.
Well, before all the wars and stuff, how was Somalia?
Somalia was one of the beautiful lands. We call home is home. It doesn't matter. Today, if I ask you how is Maine, you say Maine is the best state in America because it's your home. In truth, Somalia was one of the poorest country in Africa, one of the literate country in Africa, but we used to have the best fishes in Africa because we have a long coast in the Indian Ocean, which is one of the longest coasts in Africa. So we used to survive, we used to live in good condition. We had roads, the infrastructure was there, the school, the government was working very well. But the problem within the government was corruption and tribalism. For example, if I mention about tribalism, a tribe is a lineage, which you know your lineage. For us Somalis, we teach our children, they can recite their name until 30 names to know who's their grandfathers were. So at that time, it happened that the president was favoring his own tribe. It doesn't matter they're educated or not. It doesn't matter he was a head of a tribe in his village, he didn't know how to read or write. He'll be a CEO of a company, or he can be a CEO of a big bank or a minister, but he cannot read or write. But anyone who is very educated, because you don't belong to that tribe always will be segregated and someone will push you outside and no one will give you even promotion. So why the war broke? The war broke because of tribalism, favoritism, nepotism, and all those things. So before that, Somalia was one of the best countries to live.
Do you remember your biggest donation?
Biggest?
Yeah.
Can you repeat that question?
Do you remember the biggest donation you've had
In
to your charity?
with the. Can you rephrase?
Like who was their biggest donation?
Like, who was your biggest donation that you've ever had for your charity?
For my charity with Catholic Charities?
Yeah.
I work with Catholic Charities for almost 8 years now. Yesterday I was working 8 years and 4 months. How did I start it? When I came to Lewiston, why did I move to Maine first? I was resettled in California. California, I was resettled in an area called Alameda. The high rate of crime was so high, and I was even so scared of going outside by even taking my kids to school. So one day I was talking to my cousin who was in Maine, Lewiston, Maine, and she told me, oh my God, Lewiston is better, can you come here? You speak English, Arabic, Swahili, you have all these transferable skills, you'll find a job, come to Maine. So I said, okay, let me go. I went to the map, as usual. I looked at the map, west coast to east coast. I called her back and said, oh my God, these are totally two different countries. It's like going from Egypt to South Africa. And she looked at me and she told me, you need to come here. You'll find a job immediately. And I said, okay. So she sent me some money. I took a bus. It took me 5 days to come to Maine. So I came to Maine so that automatically I'll find a job in 2 days. It took me 8 months to find a suitable job. But in between those 8 months, I used to be called as an interpreter to the hospitals, to the court, schools, and that's where people knew that I have all these transferable skills. And part of that is that because of education, because I was educated back home and I used to speak English. So I became an interpreter immediately. And after that, I found a job with the Career Center as employment specialist. So I started finding employment for the refugee population. And after that, I found a job with, that was the influx of the Somali was so high in the Lewiston area, and they wanted case managers. So I applied a job with the Lewiston Portland Collaborative. They have a collaboration with both cities to help the refugees. So I found a job there, and after that, Catholic Charity took over because collaboration lost some fund, and I started working as a case manager with Catholic Charity. The good thing about Catholic Charity, I was a case manager for so long, and I had all the experience, but no one was promoting me because I didn't have a degree in America. So one day I went to they post the position of supervisor, and I applied. And I had all this credential. I had the experience they wanted, but I didn't have the degree to show that. So that's why I went back to school. I used to take two classes, and I decided to take four classes so that I can have that degree in hand. So they interviewed a lady who became my supervisor, and guess what? I used to teach her each and everything. I used to go back home and cry and say, oh my God, I'm teaching her what to do, and she's being paid more because I don't have education. So I went to school. In Somalia, they say you went to school with a grad, but you want to graduate. So I went to school, and within 2 years, I get my degree. And I applied to the same position within 2 years, and I found that job, and still I'm working that position.
What is your favorite part of being a community leader?
It has some up and downs. Sometimes people will love you to death, and one day when you say, I cannot do something, because you have two extremes in the world. I'll give you the example of the fire. We had fire in Lewiston, which happened 5 months ago. And I said, yesterday, by the way, I was in the news also talking about the fire. So, within the fire, I realized that people can appreciate you a lot, and people can put you down a lot. It is both ways. Being a leader, you need to balance. The good thing about being a leader is that you need to be very truthful, and you need to have a credibility. When you say this is black, it should be black. Not tomorrow saying that, no, it was greenish. No. You need to say this is black and it should be black until you're there. So being a leader in the community, that you have a baggage within yourself. You need to be listening all the time. Don't judge. With all the time people tend to judge. Prejudging someone is a bad thing in my job. Because you can tell someone that maybe she's lying about it. No. You need to have a good faith to think that this person is telling you the truth and you need to listen. So always a leader should listen more and act after listening. But not acting before you listen, because always you end up with having a lot of confusion.
Have you faced discrimination in Lewiston?
Oh my God, yes, a lot. By the way, today I was coming with Zamzam, one of my friends who is going to come and speak to you guys. And technology. I told her, can we print the direction to go? She said, no, we have GPS. And I said, okay, fine. So we took our GPS, put the address, and we were lost in the area for almost 30 minutes. Turning off the GPS, and we tried to ask people, and no one stopped even to look at us. So those are the first things that, because maybe we are people not from this area, they don't want to talk to us. But discrimination, yes. People will ask you, do you pay tax? And usually we pay tax as employees, we pay tax. They ask us, do you receive a free car from the government? No, I work for my car. For example, I live in my house, I build my own house. A lot of people are asking me, did the government build it for you? Oh, which government is going to build for? We don't have any free ride. And the bad discrimination I face is that people look at you sometimes and say, this is not Halloween. Why are you dressing up like that? But this is my choice. I didn't ask you, why are you dressing up like this? So discrimination is everywhere. And sometimes people, unless, because the fear of unknown, when someone does not know you, automatically they'll discriminate you. But the good thing about that is that we need to educate. I didn't feel bad when someone is asking me, do you pay tax? Be on the stop sign and someone will roll their windows and think that maybe they're asking you, you Somali, do you pay tax? Is this a free car from the No, this is not a free car from the government. When my daughter was admitted to Bates, there was an article about her in the paper, and one of the comments they made is that this is this is a taxpayer's money which she gets. And by the way, she received the academic scholarship. I have my family contribution to pay, but the scholarship she received, I cannot afford to take her to Bates. I'm taking myself to the community college and it's very, very expensive. They just went back to school 1 month ago, and the money I spent on books, and, it is very, so the discrimination is there. People will ask, you say this, go back to your country. One day I was coming out from my apartment, and a white girl, she was like 5 years, she looked at me and I knew that she wanted something. So I went for an apple and I sat down, she touched my foot and she said, oh my God, this is so pretty. I said, thank you. And within a minute, the grandfather called her doctor and said, don't talk to me. It was so bad. And I started crying because I didn't deserve that. So I went back to work shaking, thinking that this young girl, 5 years old, wanted to know about my cloth. And this is an old man who is cursing me. So I went back to work and one of the ladies told me, can we go back, Kamara? We went back there and we couldn't find them. So the next day I went to the Walmart and I was in the line paying my thing, and an American old man came. I said, thank you. So it was two, one day, one was against me, calling me names and discriminating me. And the same day, at the Walmart, I felt myself was so afraid. And I went back home and said, this is the same one we want. People will accept you, and the people will not accept us. After 10 years, are we still facing the discrimination? Yes. Sometimes I send my employment specialist, who is a Somali woman, and she'll ask for application, and the side is we are hiring, but because she's a Somali woman there, it's really not hiring. And she said, oh my God, but you have the sign of hiring here. And she said, by the way, the entire person is not here. Okay, I'll come tomorrow. And when she comes back, she says, oh, we apologize, we don't have anything. And we need someone who has a GED or high school diploma. They'll give you some excuses, find a job.
Thank you.